We're all familiar with the image of the little white lab mouse running frantically through a maze, searching ever for that mysterious and elusive hunk of cheese. The reality is not always quite so cute, and certainly not so simple. Use of animals for experimentation obviously raises a host of very important and difficult moral questions. And in the mid-1980s, this guy took center stage in the debate. Genetically modified to be useful in cancer research, he's known as OncoMouse, and he was the first animal to be patented in US history. So to learn more about OncoMouse, we're here with Mallory Warner, who's a project assistant in the Division of Medicine and Science. And we're here with one of the very few previously alive objects, the OncoMouse.
It's called OncoMouse because the prefix onco means cancer. You might be familiar with...
I was wondering what that meant.
Right, oncology, oncologist. So he is a cancer mouse. He was specifically genetically engineered to develop cancer, to be predisposed to develop cancer.
OncoMouse is particularly important because this is the first higher level organism to be patented. And, patent history is actually surprisingly awesome. So why is it that OncoMouse gets a patent when nothing else before it has?
Patent history is really important in American history. It's actually something that is written into the Constitution. The Founding Fathers put in a line about promoting science and the useful arts. So in the mid-70s, when people first were able to start genetically engineering organisms, there was a scientist at General Electric who developed a bacteria that would eat oil. So if there was an oil spill, you could throw these bacteria out and then clean it up. And he wanted a patent for it, and the patent office rejected him. And it went all the way to the Supreme Court, and in 1980 it was decided that you could patent organisms, and specifically genetically engineered organisms, because they were a product of man, they weren't a product of nature. And eventually in 87, they decided, we will start allowing patents on higher level organisms. And so then, now they've got this whole field, so who's going to be the first?
Right.
They want to pick somebody, something, some animal that has a really, it's very symbolic. And so OncoMouse, they thought, had been developed for a moral good. Here is this little mouse, it had been genetically engineered. Obviously, it's upsetting that it's been genetically engineered to get cancer, but it was done for a good reason. We wanted to have it available to do cancer research to hopefully help people who are suffering from cancer. And so OncoMouse was selected, and in 1988, OncoMouse received its patent.
How do you even get an OncoMouse that's alive?
Right. Well, OncoMouse, despite being, a living animal that ate and slept and, whatever else, he was a product. So, as with most products, there were promotional materials that were developed to help sell the OncoMouse. This, you can see, is a t-shirt. So it's interesting, the mouse in the more promotional material, he seems wise, calm,
he looks like a science superhero mouse.
Right, he definitely does. He has all this DNA, and these are antibodies flying out of him. He looks like a superhero. Anyway, it's interesting to contrast sort of the way the mouse is presented here in the marketing material with just sort of an informative newsletter, where this mouse, he's clearly lumpy. He's not a healthy mouse. The idea of patenting a higher level organism, of course, brought on all sorts of controversies, right? So you had reactions from religious groups who felt that this was playing God, we shouldn't be doing that. You had reactions from environmental groups who were afraid that the organisms would escape into the environment and interbreed and mess with natural populations. You had backlash from farmers who were afraid that livestock would be genetically modified, patented, and then they would not be allowed to breed the livestock naturally, that they'd have to pay.
Not to mention animal rights groups.
Animal rights groups, of course, had a problem with doing any sort of, genetic transformation of animals to begin with. And sort of, it does change our relationship with an animal. If it's suddenly just a piece of profit, it's a different dynamic. When I look at this, I think about, cancer research. I think about, DuPont selling it and marketing it. But there is a truth to the idea that if we patent an animal, if we make it a product, it removes this sort of natural reaction of like, this is another living organism.
Yeah.
And so it does definitely change the dynamic, I think.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for joining us today. This has been incredibly weird, but informative and neat.
My pleasure.
Awesome.
And thank you guys for joining us today too. I hope you also found it creepy and cool.